What's going on, everybody? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're at. Welcome back to the Truck Parking Clubhouse. I'm your guy, Lombard Trucking. Welcome back to another edition of the Clubhouse. Before we get rolling, once again, 47 minutes ago, Taillight 67 dropped in your inbox, covered some recent news articles. We got a video ask in there about some ramp parking. We've got some partner codes. So go in, deep dive into Taillights. Maybe check your spam folder. You never know. That's where all your newsletters go. But either way, other than that, hope you guys are all staying safe. If you got any questions, anything, like I said, drop them in the comments section. If you're tuning in live, check in. Let us know where you're coming in from. But without any further delay, I want to bring on my very good friend, a very special guest that we're bringing on the Clubhouse this evening. Her name is Jacinda Lady Truckin'. What is happening, sister?
What's up? Coming at you. Doing well. How are you?
Fantastic. And where are you at right about now?
I just crossed over into Texas on I-10. I'm gonna keep heading east, but I stopped here just so I could chat with you for a few moments.
Just to come on and riff on the Clubhouse. We love it.
I sure did. Thank you. I'm honored.
And so you're on I-10 going east, so you're El Paso area?
Something like that. Yeah. A little bit, give or take. I don't like to always reveal exactly where I am. How about that?
Yeah, we love operational security around here, or OPSEC for short.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, stop for a moment. Thank you for having me. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
Hey, it's great to have you on. And I mean, I know you just got into El Paso, but it's been a long road getting there. How did you get into the trucking industry?
Oh, well, that's a good question. How I got into trucking is I'm a third generation truck driver. Parents, grandparents, and I'm the third generation in trucking. So kind of fell into it, grew up in trucks being dropped off. My mom did local aggregate, dump trucks and dumps, belly dumps, things like that. And so I drove around in trucks my whole life. And honestly, never thought about trucking until I had a career at FedEx Express. I was a courier for 10 years and started doing limos and party buses. So I got my class B. And I also had a hazmat as a courier because we were delivering, hazmat materials. And it was the women at FedEx were like, Jay, how come you don't come drive trucks? I had never thought about it. And to be honest, I went into trucking because of the schedule. And then I just grew a deep passion for it along my journey.
Really? What was so the ladies at FedEx, they got you into it. What was it about the schedule where you were like, yeah, this is where I want to go?
The schedule, my work schedule, actually, because I had worked very long days for 10 years, as a courier, 6 to 6 every day. So the RTD, the ramp transport driver position, actually allowed me to have the afternoons with my kids. So I would go in at 3 and be done by 10 or 11 and still have the afternoons with my kids. That's really why I went into the trucking aspect.
Oh, so it was almost like, yeah, it was like a really early morning shift, saying, so it's like 3 a.m. to 10 a.m.
Correct. And it was just a part-time position. So it was rough to, a transition. But my motto was I can always make money, but I'll never be able to buy that time back with my kids. So I made it work. Early AMs during the week at FedEx. And then, like I said, parties, limo buses, charter buses on the weekends. A lot of overnighters.
Let's go. I was going to say, you'd be one incredible party bus driver.
I'd like to say I was good at it. Also, it was a way for me to get out and socialize, next to my parenting time. And I didn't have to feel guilty that I was out and about because I was still making money.
Exactly. No, that's good. So you're doing a little bit on the side, but here you are. You're over the road. You're hauling a step deck with you now. So
I am.
you did some time with FedEx. Kind of walk us through your resume a little bit. Where'd you go from
Yeah,
there?
good question. So I did my 2-year sentence at FedEx, like we all have to do before you really want to get out and explore the different lanes of trucking, which I appreciate because once you do your 2 years, wherever you get your license, you can pick a lane that you want to specialize in. And when I left FedEx, I had only done dry van and roller decks, right? The large containers from the planes pushed onto the trailers to the stations. And from there, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do in the trucking industry. So I had gone to a Class A, Class B temp service. I don't know. A lot of people hadn't heard of those, but there's a few out there that do job placement, temporary assignments for, commercial driver's license holders. And I went there And I told him I had done everything and I hadn't done but 2 different types of trailers. I fibbed, but that was a way to get my foot in the door of finding actually, what I liked and what I wanted to do. So when I would get an assignment, thank goodness for YouTube, I would go YouTube, say, for example, my first flatbed load was aluminum. I didn't know anything about securement or anything like that, completely green. Went to YouTube and then went to the assignment. And my way of getting into, I don't want to say around because that sounds sketchy, but I would ask the customer, show me how you want me to strap your loads here. Okay. So the willingness of being able to show me how they wanted it done allowed me a window to be able to call if something happened out on road because I was open to their showing. Does that make sense? So that give and take of education was presented. So if I had any issues, I could still call them rather than saying, "Oh, I know how to do that," because it wasn't true. So I just kept progressing in different aspects of that. And through the temp agency, which lasted 2 years, is when I started the social media platform and sharing the different aspects of trucking and the different jobs that I was doing almost on a daily basis. Hauling a flatbed this day, a dry van this day, etc. And again, that was an education for people to find out about temp services for drivers. People didn't know that was something that was available. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, the only time I've ever heard of a temp service was when I had worked for a warehouse, which was a
Hmm.
wholesaler. We had, we had a little bit of driver turnover, and we had a rack body truck as well as like a box truck that I had driven several times. But no, normally we needed somebody with at least a Class B. They had to have a
Hmm.
DOT physical, and I know, and sometimes there's a little. I wouldn't say that there was a lot of turnover. There was a little bit. I'd say a lot of guys, but we've had to use the temp service to get
Hmm.
drivers fill roles, and a lot of guys, a lot of full time drivers that we would eventually hire from a lot of full time guys would start off as the temp service, and then
Hmm.
they'd perform well, and then they'd end up coming on full time.
Yeah, you can do your 2,500 hours through somewhere and then they can basically buy you out and, hold that
Mhm.
full-time position. I knew I wasn't seeking that. Believe it or not, I'm a pretty spontaneous person. And so I liked the different jobs all the time. And I would tell the service, listen, you can put me on something different every day. I'm good with it. I'd like to say I get bored maybe with repetition. So I would be doing something different every day. So I just grew my experience in that aspect. And from there, I guess like in 2017 is when I started the social media. And then that's when my big opportunity presented itself. So it was good.
What inspired you to start making social media? You think, like, did anybody inspire you? Was there like a kick where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna start pumping out some content? Because
I
it's always an interesting decision.
Honestly, so and talking to someone through was it Instagram a few years ago, there's an R&B artist in LA I've never met in person, and his name is Aaron Sky. And in conversation with him, he's kind of the one that had presented, the to show what I'm doing. And I like to talk a lot anyway, and I'm very comfortable just speaking, to you, to anybody, or just on camera. And I started just sharing videos of what I was doing progressively. And I just grew to it. And also being alone a lot in the truck, the social media is like a phone call to me. I get to pick it up, say what I want to say, and conclude the call when I'm done. Perfect.
Yeah, it's hands off. You can set it and forget it. That's actually some of the best
Hmm.
parts about social media. It's that even if people react, you don't even need to respond.
No, because I'm very boisterous. So I say what I want to say and share always, with positivity, gratitude, and keep on moving. And I like that.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So 2017 things start to kick off. Where do you go from there?
So when was that? In 2017, it probably had been maybe like a year of doing social media. And I had Plycar. Have you ever heard of Plycar?
No. What,
No. So Plycar is
go
an
on.
enclosed car hauling company out of Long
Mm.
Island, New York. And one of the grandsons reached out to me through social media and had told me, I admire your passion and your drive for trucking. Have you ever thought about going over the road? And I had a thought about going over the road, but I wasn't going to do that until my children were in college. And that was about the last time, 2018, my son was graduating high school, only two children. So that was my second one. And I said, let me go see what Ply Car is. I went on YouTube and I was blown away. The most expensive high end cars that you could probably, imagine. I even hauled a Bugatti one time, where you load them into the trailer and haul them all the way, back and forth all over the country.
Yeah, this
And
isn't
so once
like dealership stuff.
dealerships, ports, and a lot of personal vehicles, I'd come pick up your Ferrari and take it to wherever you wanted to go.
My
It
Ferrari.
was your Ferrari. You
Yeah.
probably have a Ferrari. You probably have a Tesla. You seem like a Tesla guy.
No, not me. Dan, I'm sure there's some live people on Twitter who would chuckle at the thought of me having a
No
Tesla.
Tesla. No.
Yeah, I've frequently called Tesla just glorified golf carts, but
Yes.
not to
And
disrespect any Tesla drivers if they're listening.
no,
But yeah,
not at all. No, it's a preference. We all allowed preferences in every aspect of our life. But
but yeah, hopefully a Ferrari one day. I got to honor some of my Italian heritage somehow.
right. And that was just a beautiful job. It put me on the map of my ability because I was loading and unloading these six cars, it holds at a time, on my own. And that was mind blowing to people that I, was trained to do that. Somebody picked me up in the truck, another driver, and I trained on road with him for 4 weeks. And they said, you're going to make it. You're going to be good. Meaning they saw, my progression to excel in that field. And I completed my training, got my own truck, and my first run ever was out of the Baltimore port. I'd never been hardly anywhere in the country. So to just be thrown out there to the wolves was very scary at the beginning. I'm not even going to make anything else of it because it was overwhelming. And I thought I was doing trucking at home locally. I wasn't doing smack until I got out on the road to haul cars. So I like to say I went from kindergarten trucking to college trucking and off in my career. It was really a beautiful experience. I'm very grateful for that.
Well, that's why I love going through these timelines because I think a lot of people, especially we've got a lot of newer drivers who start following us on Instagram, and we feel a lot of messages from people who ask questions about the trucking industry, and it's kind
Hmm.
of and that's kind of the synopsis you get from YouTube is there's sort of a one track way to go there where there's so many different ways. We've had people come on the Clubhouse who grew up in a farm, and that's kind of how they got in. They grew, parents did this type of freight or somebody, but eventually the thing is as you stick around and as you stick around the industry and as you just meet people, and this is where social media is so great, and this is why I always ask
Hmm.
about, and I always tell, I mean, especially drivers in general, like drivers don't even need to be creating content, but if they are present on even LinkedIn or in that world or on Twitter, the amount of opportunities and doors it can open just by showcasing a little bit of your personality is that's what's gonna open the door, that because that door into car hauling you're not going to
Hmm.
see if nobody can see. Like people need to see you and able to do that. And some people maybe that's not what they want. Again, some people get into trucking for for a little bit of the isolation, the peace,
Hmm.
the not wanting anybody over their shoulder. But if you are seeking, whether it be opportunity, whether it be entrepreneurship or better opportunities, niche opportunities within the industry, people need to see you. And this is kind of the world we live in now, where you can create opportunities where more people are going to see you. Previously, before the rise of social media, I think people would
Hmm.
get these jobs through networking, going to the truck shows, socializing more at truck stops. The industry sort of shifted. Obviously, we see a lot less of socializing around truck stops and travel
Hmm.
centers and rest areas, and now it's happening more at the events and online. And so if you want to be seen, you need to kind of do the things that you have been doing. So I think it makes it that's why it makes sense for people to share their testimonies on here to see how somebody else can maybe walk the same path you did to get into, because who doesn't want to haul Ferraris? Let's be
Yeah.
real.
It was a great experience. And that's what I share with people is that's one of the beautiful things about trucking to me is you can choose what aspect and what lane you want to specialize. Once you get your 2 years under the belt, right? That's wherever you are, if you can look at that like a stepping stone to get the lane that you want to run in. And everybody has a preference. Me personally, now that I'm in open deck, my transition into open deck, I believe, came from the visual, people being able to see my physical ability, to strap and secure things, which was just cars at the time. But that's how the opportunity continued after that, is my ability and my eagerness to learn what's next. And I also believe when people high value things, it gives you a better appreciation or respect for the commodities that you are hauling. This is an opinion of mine, and I'm going to share it wherever it goes. It's clean, don't worry. But I feel that when people can see their freight, they are more mindful of their driving and the safety when you can see what's on the back of your trailer. Sometimes I feel if you can't see your freight, you're just all over the place. As for me, when I'm driving down the road, I'm looking constantly, make sure, it's in position. I'm almost paranoid about my freight when it's on the trailer. I really don't relax in that time. So I'd like some interesting maybe comments after you share this about that opinion of it, if that makes sense. If you could see your freight, do you feel that you would be more mindful of safety and etiquette in your driving?
Oh yeah, there's definitely there's a visual kind of awareness boost that you get. I know from hauling open deck, like especially when
Hmm.
like I know this from like if you're hauling one of those, like if I had on one of those John Deere combines and you're 12 wide, or in some people are 14 wide, however wide they can be. When you're in that aspect, your head is you almost can't stop your head from not being on a swivel because
Yep.
you can physically see the freight, what's going on. Like there's almost like this, yeah, it's, I don't want to, when you think of the term anxiety, you think
Hmm.
anxiety is a bad thing, but it's almost like there's almost this constant, it's not even
I
anxiety,
call
you
it a
probably,
hyper awareness, is what I
yeah,
call it, because
there
you're
we go.
just hyper aware, is how I feel. I listen to audiobooks, so I'm focused on the road and just, constantly looking back and forth, and taking that extra time to secure your freight at the shipper is super important. Don't rush. My mindset is always, I don't want to hurt anybody. And I also don't want, want to hurt myself in that aspect. Take your time and do it right the first time, thorough and right the first time.
Absolutely, and it's funny.
So,
It's great you bring this up because in tail lights tonight we mentioned that there's this new kind of cargo theft that's going on. That's kind of straight theft, and it has to do with and it's a Trojan horse where essentially these crime syndicates will have a pool of drivers that they will get hired at certain carriers. They'll get them through the process. That driver will work there for a certain amount of time until that driver then has a high value load, like something that's worth a lot of money, and then they'll give the call to that driver, like, "Hey, come drop this, come drop this here or go park here. We'll boost the trailer," and then boom, and then that driver ends up getting fired, and then they rinse and repeat. It's just a patsy that they
I've
send
never even
in,
heard of that. That's
and
crazy. I guess because I don't think like that, but okay.
and
Oh,
it's well, yeah, we don't. Like, if you yeah, you gotta if you want to be a
what?
if you want to get the criminals, you gotta think like
I
them,
guess, yeah.
and this
Because
is
I
what.
tell all my customers, I treat every piece of freight, from the cars to these concrete barriers with the highest level of respect. It's someone's product, and I treat it with the highest level of respect. $10 or 10,000 or, 10 million, whatever. It's the same level of safety, caution, and respect whenever anything's on my trailer. 100%.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be in the open
Hmm.
deck world for sure. Well, this is a storied career you've been talking about, but you've got some. We had some special guests in the background, and I'd love to hear. I'd love to hear what. I'd love to hear where you got these nice little friends you got rolling around with you.
Well, most people who know my story or are familiar with my story, Miles is my lab I've had for 7 years. Okay. And I'll start with her first because she's the real OG here. There was a program called Mutts for Trucks. It was TA Petro Truck Stop and Mobile One. And they started this pet adoption program that they were holding at the truck stops on site for truck drivers to adopt dogs. Okay. And what they would do is, depending on the location of the truck stop, they would connect with whatever local humane society or, pet adoption center. and bring them to the truck stop so we could adopt them on site. It was a beautiful, beautiful story. You know, when they first approached me, I said, I don't want a dog. I just got rid of my kids. You know, I've been taking care of things for, 18 years already. And so I went ahead with it. I auditioned for the piece and got the part and got Miles when she was a puppy. Like I said, I've had her since she was a few months old. And my little motto I have for many things, but my motto that applies to Miles is I didn't want her, but I didn't know I needed her. I feel like God knew I needed her because I was headed out over the road. And, she saved me many times because I wasn't alone out there. When I lived in a truck almost 5 years straight with no home, just trucking, 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 trucking. And I had her the entire time. Super blessing. And then
Absolutely. Yeah. Man, what a great
Harley.
story.
Okay, so that's my lab. And this is Harley. He's my Great Dane. Okay, which people think I'm another attribute of crazy for having a Great Dane. He's an 18-month-old Great Dane. Harley Quinn is what his print is. And I've had him about 9 months. He was rehomed to me. And my mom asked me, would you like this Great Dane? And I was like, ooh, my life is very simple with Miles only. So I asked for a trial run. Can I try him for a few weeks before I commit to keeping him? Solely just to make sure he was going to be adaptive, right? Getting in and out of the truck and what we do. And what does that tell you? He's still here.
It looks like he's
And
doing all right.
he's the best. That he's a follower with Miles, and it works. It just works. I stop a lot and take them out. We do a mile or two at a time, probably 2 or 3 times a day. We always get our steps in, at least 10,000 steps with the mileage, to get to where we want to go. The other day,
You
we traveled 675 miles and still did 11,427 steps.
you heard that you're singing the Lombard language right there. If you're a driver and you're hearing this,
It's important. I stop every couple hours, 10, 15 minutes, walk, stretch, jump rope, do a couple push-ups, just to get my body alive and, get them moving. Super important. No job is worth your health, meaning mental or physical. Not at all.
100%. And if it comes down to adding an extra friend on the road, like these two find co-pilots you got, then that doesn't beat it.
Hmm.
Does the Great Dane, does he need to use 3 points of contact? Does she need to use three
Yeah,
points of contact?
dude, he does one jump from the ground to the truck, but that won't last forever. But for now, it works.
Yeah,
And
so he can no problem gets in and out.
no, 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 no. And here's a suggestion to drivers for people who have dogs: take your dogs out. Okay. And the reason why I say that is because I feel there's a give and take in that aspect. I take them out and they're willing to get back in, right? They know that it works both ways. I meet people with dogs. Hey, is your dog friendly? No, the dog is not used to being taken out. So I can continue on about that. I don't have to, but take your dogs out. Oh, and the other one, pick up your dog shit, please.
Yeah, that goes without saying, especially wherever you're parking. That's something you'll
Yes.
see in the comment section all the time. I remember the
Yes.
first like because I would work out at truck stops constantly, and
It's
that's something
gross.
you got to avoid
Hmm.
avoid certain areas in there where you
Hmm.
can't always play in the grass yourself.
Yeah, it's important. And what I tell people is, did you leave your kids' Pampers out there? Then why would you leave your dog poop?
Well said.
Ooh,
So,
I have a saying for almost everything. Just give me a second.
for sure. Well, I gotta ask you. You mentioned it before you came on. We got to talk about the Emmys.
Oh, the Emmys. What an honor. What an honor. I believe this is right during the midst of the pandemic, right? When truck drivers were so essential, right? We were so respected, in demand, and people were literally waiting for us to bring product. So we were considered one of the essential workers. So for the Emmys of that year, I was asked if I would speak and represent the trucking industry. And I was honored to do so. And so I had to make a video, right? Auditioning, everything's an audition for the part. And I got accepted. And we met at a church on the hill in Malibu, California. And thankful to Plycar, I got to use their truck in it. And during the session, I'm not even going to make it, they wanted me to elaborate on women in trucking. And I was honest with them. I said, this is not about women in trucking right now. This is about every human being behind the wheel. Won't do that, right? There's a time and a place to shine light on the sexes. To me, that wasn't the time. So if you check it out, you can go on YouTube and search my name with the Emmys, and you can see the episode representing trucking. Can I tell you something funny? You know who they brought on right after the trucker?
I don't even want it. Was it a nurse?
Tracy Morgan. Why? Because Tracy Morgan got hit by a truck. How cliche, right?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't air a commercial for Thomas J. Henry or something right after.
I just thought that was so cliche when he came. I was like, really? That's how they associate trucking? But it was an honor, and I felt that it was important what I did speak about, in appreciating and letting truck drivers know that they are appreciated, and just respect to every person that was driving. No matter whatever they are, we all human beings is what I referenced it at.
100%. That's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pull that up after we sign off here. That's good stuff. Let's definitely want to shift gears a little bit. You're at a rest
Okay,
stop now, and I know
I am.
you're and I mean you're passionate about the stuff about the industry, issues in the industry. Parking's our biggest concern. So I mean, I've got to ask you, when was the first time you had heard about Truck Parking Club, and any times you had used this in the past? I know we had talked to you. There's a couple locations you stayed at before. Would love to hear
Hmm.
about it.
So I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly how I heard about it. I don't want to make something up. Probably through social media. It's probably how it came across. And then I think you kind of started coming into my feed, how we connected. I don't know. But I was grateful because the first place that I used it was in Portsmouth, Virginia. And I've used two separate locations. And number one, I like the availability that is almost everywhere that you go. It's within a few miles of where you are. Another factor that I appreciate, like I shared in my video yesterday, is you can select what amenities are accommodating for you. If you can drop your trailer, if it's a 24/7 access yard, are there, facilities to use? Can you sleep there? I really appreciate the clarity of everything that's offered, and the communication with the site managers or, direct contacts that we have listed on there. Every time that I've reached out, I've always gotten a quick response. And I appreciate that. So feeling important, respected, and accommodated to are probably the top that I have felt everyone that I have used.
Let's go. No, we love to
Hmm.
hear that. Love that it's been able to help you out. And I'm pretty sure that I know that I feel like you and I crossed paths. I'm pretty sure it was, I feel like Aubrey was the first person to tell me. She was like, you got
Oh,
to follow Trucking with Aubrey.
you're right.
She was like, you got to
You're
follow
right.
Jacinda. She gets after it too over the road. And it was a no brainer.
There we go. Thank you. Yes, she was on your stream here in your clubhouse, and I had just done some photography with her trucking with attitude product, which was honorable to do. So yes, I'm glad you remembered. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think I want to say the first time I had seen you on social media was probably back in either 2022 or 2023. Um, rolling strong. So it's been incredible to watch you crush it. And you were just recently at the Mid America Truck Show. How many years you been going to Mid America?
My first year was 2017.
Let's go.
2000, so yeah, 9 years. I think I missed one or two. My first show was with my cousin, Mark Springer. He was on Shipping Wars back in the day, and that was at the real hype of the show. So when I started doing social media, he took me under his wing and started introducing me, to other influencers and, people in the trucking industry. Beautiful. I've actually gone to Alaska with Miss Lisa Kelly. I didn't drive, but I went trucking with her in Alaska.
Now,
Super cool.
how was that? Would you go back?
Absolutely. I went in the winter that time. It was literally December, and went from Wasala to Fairbanks with her, like a full trip day. It was a neat experience. super experienced. And I'm glad I got to meet you at the truck show. I love all the trucking aspect, but I'll be honest, I go to the truck show to meet and network with our trucking fam in person. That's really why I go.
It's all about the people. I'm glad.
It
I'm glad you
is.
bring it out there. We hyped up the show a lot for that exact reason, to meet and talk with people and learn and jive with either everybody you see on the internet or everybody you don't see. In those conversations, they make it the best part.
You had a great group of people in your booth. You had a nice big space. You stood out. I appreciated that. I was impressed by that. And every person working in your booth was engaging, friendly, smiling. So respect to your whole crew that made that whole get up happen, because it was a nice presentation.
Big
Hmm.
respect for that. Appreciate that, and we do
Yes.
it, and we're there because
Hmm.
of individuals such as yourself and guys like Larry and guys like Taylor Barker, who's out there freaking
Oh,
screaming his lungs out in the parking lot.
yes. Taylor's my for a long time. That was funny that when I saw you, you said, "What do you do? You know everybody." Yes. That was really honoring when you said that to me. Kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it made me excited because that, like, whenever you go to these shows or those events, you like, for as big as the industry is and for as so many moving parts it is, like, once you realize it's also you're not that many degrees of separation from somebody, a driver from this company. Like, the industry gets so much smaller once you start going to the events, going to the shows, and you talk to people and you get on social
Hmm.
media. Eventually everybody, it's all connected, and then you realize everybody's kind of in it together. And so you want to help those people and you want to build those relationships, and it just gets better and it grows each year.
Yes, yeah, it's a good time. I really do enjoy going. Everybody was awesome, friendly, welcoming. It was a good time. Camaraderie and unity is what I feel is important in trucking.
Yeah, we need it now more than ever. I think
Hmm.
most of all. That's why I've always said the more content, the better. It's part of why we do the clubhouse in the first place, is to get to have these cool conversations, get some live, get some live viewers coming in, chiming in, just on a Monday night. Monday, normally
Amen.
people's least favorite day of the week, and you can just come on in and blow off some steam and talk about whatever, and just talk about trucks.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff, honestly. Thank you for
Well,
having me. I do.
for
I have a
sure.
little bit more to go. Do you have any other questions, or am
No,
I kind
last thing
of
I was going to say, if you want to leave us off with a little bit of wisdom, if you had any Jacinda Lady Trucking advice, like, say, if I was a 21-year-old kid and I, told you, hey, Jacinda, I just got my CDL. What's the best piece of advice you can give me?
oof, 21, you said? Make
Yeah.
make every day your adventure. Meaning, if I can advise you in anything in trucking, obviously safety and all those perspectives, but I'm speaking from a personal note. Emphasize on making every day your adventure, meaning being present where you're at and making the most of your days. Because I think that's one of the hardest parts about trucking. People emphasize on the separation, but if you can look at the positivity and take advantage of learning to be good on your own, it makes for a much healthier person overall. That's what I've gotten from trucking, and that's what I would share. Does
Let's
that make
go.
sense?
Make
Yes.
make every day an adventure. No, I love
Make
that.
every
That's
day
perfect.
your adventure.
Yes, you are
Make
not just
every
an adventure.
yes, make your adventure. Because people
You're
ask me question, where's your favorite place to be in respect to this comment? And I always tell them where I am is my favorite place to be.
well said. That's like the perfect
Ooh.
spot to leave it.
Hmm.
Well,
So,
I do appreciate you coming on. First time coming on will not be the last time. So
okay, thank you.
don't
I'm honored.
don't be a stranger. We'll be talking to you soon. And again, to anybody who is watching us live, appreciate you guys tuning into the clubhouse. Again, if you've been listening just in the last half hour, you can tell this is a woman who wants to leave this industry better than she found it. That is exactly what we do at Truck Parking Club. We help truckers save time and fuel by being able to instantly reserve truck parking nationwide. And if you need parking tonight, again, you can use that promo code Jacinda13 right at the bottom of your screen to get you $20 off your next booking. But with that, guys, we'll see you back here next Monday, next week, around 7:30-ish. But until then, stay safe, hammer down.
Amen.